Next is the willingness to communicate, the risk taking. I think I've mentioned this before. In a class, you only have 30 minutes. If you have 30 students in your class, rightfully, every student has 1 minute to use the language in your class. Right? However, there is teacher input, set induction, and then your teaching content and everything, and activities within. So there's a lot of time taken for teacher to actually speak in the class. So how much time does the student have? Very limited. And most students do not use the language outside your class. 90% learn the language only in the language class. You don't even have to wait about using the language outside the classroom. The moment the bell rings, okay, they switch to another language. You don't even have to leave the classroom. The bell rings, they know your time is out. Okay, that's it. They're going to switch to their more comfortable language. All right. So this is normal. Okay. Don't get upset. So what we have to realize is that the time is so limited in the class. You don't even have 1 minute per person. If you have more than 30 students in the class, that's even worse. Just a few minutes, a few seconds per person. So how do we encourage or maximize this? Is we do group work. All right. Instead of listening or allowing one person to speak at each few seconds, you get them to work in groups. But you have to make sure that they use the language in the group. So your job is constantly tell them, okay, class, make sure you're using English to discuss. Please use English to discuss. You have to remind them. All right? Because that is the only time they get to use the language. And the willingness to communicate. Just because you force them to speak in English, some students will not speak at all. All right. So you have to tell them. It doesn't matter if it is grammatically correct or whatever, as long as your friends can understand you, but you have to use the English language. All right. If you don't know the words, you can put up your hands. I will help you. I'll provide you with the English words. So then you will see the fun in the class. Every other person is putting up the hand. Okay, they want to say the word, but they don't know the English word. But that is actually vocabulary building, isn't it? It may not be your learning objective for the day, but because you ask them to use the language when they discuss, that becomes sort of a milestone. You know, they have to use the language, and you already said if they don't know the word, they can ask you. So they will now start taking risks. Okay, so when they say it, say out the word, and they which they are not sure what is the English word for it, you can write it on the board. Okay, so that also helps the students. All right, and then you can tell at the end of the class, you can tell them, okay, now these are the words that you found it difficult. I want you to do this as homework. Write this down in your notebook. Go home, find the meaning in the dictionary, and write one sentence. And later you check. All right, so that you will see not all students will do it, but the ones who do it are really serious about learning the language. Okay, and next time around, when you come across the same word, what you will do is you will ask the class. You don't give the answer anymore. You ask the class. Last week, remember the other day we did this lesson? Somebody in the class asked this word. What is that word? Okay, then they will start helping each other. All right, this is where the success of the lesson lies. When you get everyone involved in your lesson, but you have to do it extremely consciously, because you have to remember what other words they didn't know, which is tough. But trust me, when you do this consciously, you'll remember everything. Sometimes you wonder, can I really remember that many things, But you can, okay? Because for the sake of teaching your students and making them understand what you are teaching, you will remember, right? And that will hopefully will give them more confidence. So someone who provides that answer to the class will also increase their level of confidence, because they got this assurance from you. You said it's right. All right. And then they are willing to take more risks. That ego will slowly break off. It will fade off. All right. Because that willingness comes in. Right. So how do we play a role here? Encourage both accuracy and risk taking. Provide reasonable challenges in your techniques. Make it neither easy nor too hard. Must be a bit of a challenging one, right? So that there's thinking involved. Create an atmosphere in the classroom that encourages students to try out language and not wait for someone else to volunteer language, right? So you give them that assurance. It's okay to make mistakes. It's fine. I will correct you. I'll help you. And they will be willing to, right? Praising them for trying, even if it's wrong, right? But tell them, okay, that's a really good try, but unfortunately it's not 100% correct. It may be totally wrong, but you just tell them it's not 100% correct. All right. And then tell them what is the right answer. Okay. And it is also in the way you say things, how you say, how you praise them. All right. Matters. When you say it with a lot of care, I think students will accept anything you say. And after a while, you realize you can even tell them, no, that's wrong, and they will accept it. Okay.